Hello! Today we are going to explain how to write a pros and cons essay in English. Okay, so let's take a look first at basically what is a pros and cons essay, okay? And let me tell you that it's basically an essay where we discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a topic, okay? And it is a formal type of writing, and we must bear in mind that we need to contrast the two opposing points of view. Okay, let's take a look at the formation or the structure of this essay. Okay, so it's basically composed by three parts. Okay, an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. But then let's have a look first at the introduction. Okay, in this introduction it's very important that we mention the topic, okay, but we shouldn't include our personal opinion just yet. Okay, it's absolutely essential that we talk generally about this topic without giving a personal opinion. Okay, this should come a little bit later on. Let's take a look at one example of a possible introduction on the topic of becoming your own boss. Okay, I'm going to give you some minutes to read this part. So if you could pause the video right now so you can read it at home, and then I'll carry on. Okay, so now that you have read the introduction, you will see that we are speaking generally, okay? You cannot find anywhere in this paragraph our personal opinion, okay? But we're simply stating the topic, mentioning the topic, but we don't show what is our personal opinion just yet. It's like a mysterious kind of introduction so that our reader doesn't know and is not influenced by our opinion just yet. Okay, now the main body. Okay, this is one of the most powerful parts of this essay, and it should have two paragraphs. Okay, the first paragraph should have all the pros or all the advantages for this particular topic. Okay, but we shouldn't only talk or mention all these advantages, but we should also provide justification or extra information to all those points that we are making. And the same happens with the second paragraph of this main body, where we not only mention the disadvantages, but also we show some kind of justification. Let's take a look at some examples. Again, this is an example of an advantages part of the main body. I'm going to give you some minutes. If you can please pause the video now so that you can read it at home, and then we'll continue explain it later. Okay, so after you've read this paragraph, you will see, okay, that the main idea of the first advantage is, okay, you are completely self-reliant and you can make decisions on your own, okay? But we don't simply stop there. We'll continue a bit more, adding some extra information, okay? Why or what else can we say about the fact that we can make decisions on our own? That this will give us a great sense of freedom, and it will allow us to do whatever we want, okay? And no one can say anything to us, okay? So as I said earlier, it's not only, okay, I'm going to say something and give a reason or talk about an advantage. For example, you can make decisions on your own, but you can explain something else later, adding extra information. Okay, let's take a look at the part of disadvantages, okay? So we have disadvantages of being your own boss. Again, can you stop the video now, and then I will continue later. Okay, so as you can see here again, you will mention some disadvantages, but again, you will add some extra information that complements, okay, or adds information to all those disadvantages that you are speaking about. Okay, and now let's move on to the conclusion, okay? Here is the moment where we are going to finish, okay, by summarizing what we think, and this is the time where we are going to give our personal opinion openly, okay? So we need to state our opinion clearly, if possible, okay? And therefore, opinion words such as I think, I believe, okay, in my view, okay, should only be used in this paragraph, but never before, okay? Because we are just keeping the mystery way until the end of our essay. Let me show you an example. Okay, you can pause the video now and I'll continue later. Okay, so as you can see, here is the moment where we're going to give our personal opinion. Okay, it seems to me that self-employment can be a very gratifying experience, although not one with difficulties. But when success is achieved, the greatest reward is the knowledge that you have done it on your own. Okay, so here we are expressing or letting the reader know what do we really think about this main topic. Okay, now things to remember when writing a pros and cons essay. The most important thing is tip number 1. Okay, you should just take a piece of paper and you should write or make 2 lists. Okay, the pros and cons that you can think of the particular topic. Okay, this is an essential part of your writing process, and you shouldn't start writing your essay without having done this tip first. Okay, so say for instance that you are trying to talk or write about the topic of living in the country, okay, opposed to living in the city center, for instance. Okay, so you should make a list of pros. For example, there is no noise, there is no traffic, there is a healthy environment, okay, it's very safe for children, okay, the house prices are lower. So again, you have here on your left some possible ideas, okay? And then you should, of course, do the same with the cons, okay, with the disadvantages, all right? So this is an example of how you would make those 2 columns in your list before you can start writing anything, okay? Let me go back to where we were, and let's continue talking about our tips. Tip number 2, okay, make sure that when you give or you talk about your advantages or disadvantages, you add a justification, a reason, or an example to go with it, okay? So here we have an example. However, imagine there are disadvantages to owning a house. And then firstly, the first disadvantage, okay, it can be rather expensive, okay? For example, repairs to the outside can be costly, not to mention the time-consuming task of caring for a backyard or a garden. So not only are you saying that this is going to be costly and also tiring, but you are also including an example, okay? For example, okay, repairs to the outside, blah, blah, blah. So we not only mention our disadvantage, but we explain it a little bit further, okay? This is very, very important for your essay to be complete and rounded, okay? And finally, tip number 3, remember that a pros and cons essay is a formal type of writing, okay? So we shouldn't use contractions, okay, or colloquial language, okay? So there's nothing like I've been, okay, but I have been, or nothing like colloquial language like slang or sometimes idioms, okay? Be careful with those. And also try to avoid very, very strong language like I firmly believe, okay? It's more like in a neutral kind of tone, okay? So you should say, okay, I believe, okay, my view, but nothing like I firmly or I strongly believe, all right? Now, after these tips, it's important to join our ideas and join our connectors, okay? Join our paragraphs with connectors or linking words, okay? When we are starting talking about a topic, we need to introduce all those points that we're going to make. Okay, so for example, we're going to say one major advantage or one major disadvantage, okay? A further advantage, one point of view in favor of blah, blah, blah is, okay? So here are some expressions or connectors that you might use when you are introducing some topics, okay? In order to list some points, okay, you have here all these connectors that I'm sure you are familiar with, okay? And also, if you are adding more points to the same topic, so for example, if you are mentioning all the advantages and you mention the first one, to continue with the second, you would say, okay, what is more or furthermore, and any of these ones that are included in this group, okay? And now, once you are finished from talking about advantages and you want to move on to talking about disadvantages, okay, how do you make that transition? By using one of these contrasting point connectors, okay, on the other hand, however, in spite of, okay, so you can choose any of these ones, okay. And let's continue a bit more. All right, when we said that apart from talking about our pros and cons, we should provide justification with examples, here are some of the expressions that you might use. All right, so don't forget to use them. And finally, in your conclusion, okay, you can choose one of these expressions to begin your conclusion paragraph. Okay, obviously these are just some examples, okay. You might use similar connectors. Now here you have an activity that I'm going to show you now. And in this activity, the idea is that you can choose the arguments to the justifications. For example, if you say, some people claim that owning a mobile phone is a waste of money, okay? If you can pause the video now, try to find the match. Okay, since we are talking about money, it should go with this one. So first you talk about this argument, okay, and then we explain it a little bit by giving an example, okay. The basic charge for the service is much higher, blah blah blah. Okay, let's continue with the next one. For example, using mobile phones can be rather dangerous, okay. So since we're talking about safety, maybe this should be the right one, okay, because it reduces concentration and increases the chances of having an accident, okay. So I'm not only saying, okay, mobile phones are dangerous, but I'm explaining why by giving you some data or some information, okay. Having a mobile phone increases your personal security, okay. So for example, it increases your personal security because you can call for help, okay, if you are in trouble, all right. And then finally, if you are on the move, it's very useful because these people can be contacted no matter where they are, okay? So let's just check that we got them right. And yes, we did, okay? So we can move on to the next one. Okay, so let me just go back to where we were. Okay, and now, so this is what we're going to do now. Let me just make this a bit bigger. Okay, you're going to read an essay and I'm going to stop the video and you need to guess which are the connectors. Okay, the missing connectors. Okay, the essay is pros and cons of owning a pet. Okay, you need to pause the video now and then I'll come back and show you the results. Okay, so here we go. So here is the same text, but in this case you have the correct connectors all in red, okay? Make sure or remember, bear in mind that if you chose a different connector, it's okay, as long as they are similar in meaning, okay? So for example, instead of on the other hand, if you chose however, then that should be okay. In the sense that you chose a synonym or a similar connector. Okay. Here is a little activity that I'm going to show you and you need to put in order, okay? It's a complete essay, but it only includes pros and cons, okay? It doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have a conclusion, all right? So I'm going to give you some time. You need to pause the video now and you need to order the essay. Okay, so here are all the options. Okay, so now, okay, if you had time, let's do this together. Okay, first of all, remember we need to talk about advantages. Okay, so we should have, for example, this one as the first one. Package holidays have several advantages. Now, we should maybe have this one to start with, okay? They are cheaper than traveling on your own. Then we continue with something as well negative. Maybe with this one furthermore, okay? and also maybe this one last but not least, which is also positive. Okay, and now we need to move on to the disadvantages. Okay, we would start with however there are disadvantages to going on a package holiday, and then we can leave this here, and then since the other one starts with finally, we're gonna move that one there. So let's check, and as you can see, we got it right, so we did a good job. Okay, now here are some examples of possible pros and cons essay topics, okay? In case you wanted to practice at home and do some kind of draft writing and to see how you can put into practice everything that we have learned today. So for example, pros and cons of living in apartments, okay? Being famous, owning a car instead of, for example, cycling everywhere or using public transport. WhatsApp groups, okay, a very controversial topic. Living in the country opposed to living in the city center. Okay, so you can take these topics and practice at home and see how you do. All right, so that's all for today. Thank you so much. Okay, if you want to watch any more tutorials regarding some explanations of grammatical points, you can go to my YouTube channel and check them out. Okay, I hope you like them, and that's all for today. Take care and see you later. Bye.